Alrighty, we're back. This time it's the Scrim campaign on hard with no units. And the rules are quite simple. They'll be right here. We're going to be doing London, Croatia on threshold 19 with no units allowed. We can only use assimilators to capture objectives. We can only build harvesters if we need to, and we can only build drone ships. And that's it. Let's get to it. And here we have the Scrin London mission. I have skipped the first part where you destroy the buildings, and we're going to jump straight into a load I have that has the base portion, so we'll be good to go. So we start off with our base portion here. We start off with our nice refinery, and of course, first thing first, I got to take all these units they gave us, so nice and lovely, and shove them in the corner where they belong, because they've been naughty. So we go ahead and we whack down our first extractor here, throw up a few buzzer hives to take care of the infantry, because our goal is to actually go to that bottom right base and kill the war factory. The only threat on this mission is that war factory. The infantry are an absolute joke. The buzzer hives behind buildings will take care of absolutely everything. So we make sure we get our nice little power plant farm put up all nice and tidy, get some photon cannons to take care of these vehicles initially here, and then we're gonna scootle our boodle all the way down to the lower right with one of our drone ships. Alright, we got our drone ship down over here. We plonk her down. It almost dies because they take extra damage, like what, 300% when they set down? And we just start plopping out photon cannons as much as we can. Now, I didn't make another drone ship because we only have a small Tiberium patch and I don't feel like doing the bonus objectives. So I just start making as many photon cannons as I can, and I have them target the pit bulls, which are the ones doing the DPS. The APCs and watchtowers do not matter because they don't have a piano, so there's nothing to worry about. So once we work our way through there, we have to go back up north. We sell our rest of our cannons off because we're out of money. Then we go back down and we continue plonking away, and eventually the war factory falls. We have a few cannons left over and it's easy cleanup. Now the AI will actually rebuild the war factory if you're not careful on this mission. It's one of the unusual fights against GDI where they actually rebuild. There's a few missions in which they do, and they happen to be mostly on the Scrin campaign. So we go up here and we start setting up. We get our base all nice and tidy, sell our stuff off that we don't need anymore, and then we go ahead and whack down a whole bunch of photon cannons to take care of this MCV so we don't have to worry about it anymore. Then we can simply fly our ship back up, head back to the north while we steal their Tiberium. And don't forget, you do have to blow open those little laser fences. We set down once again, almost losing our drone ship, but this base is purely infantry, so all we have to do is set up a ton of buzzer hives and the base will be on lockdown pretty easy peasy. Look at all my children go. Aren't they lovely? Buzzer hives are actually pretty good distraction towers, and that might be useful information later if I had remembered it. But the construction yard falls, and that's the first mission. A very easy introduction into this campaign. There's only 3 out of 4 missions here, but they're all ball breakers. Like, they're extremely tough if you're doing this rule set. But all in all, we barely lost any defenses. We lost only 15 structures. Not a big deal at all. And now we're on to the next. Alrighty, here's Croatia, where I play ping pong with the enemy, and you'll see why. So we start off by taking all of our units here and going down to the south. We're going to ignore the first attack entirely just by simply moving our units away. And then once we are able to establish our extractors here, we're going to just take money and then pretty much do nothing else. We're not going to really build a base. We're just going to collect money and get some more drone ships out at the first start of this mission. Then we're going to move to the right side over there, and we're going to collect the blue Tiberium, which is on GDI's trigger zone. And here we go. They go away because they don't see a base and they're happy, so they're disappearing. But Nod will send an attack wave down to the south, and if it sees your structures, it will start attacking. So you simply sell it, and then as we can see, the Nod vehicle will start to move away and it won't attack our harvester. There he goes, he's off into the sunset. And then we start building units on this lower right side, or I should say extractors on the lower right side, because they will ignore your harvesters as long as they don't attack your structures. And you can see that attack wave that was going for the lower left base, they're moving up north. So our plan here is to get our gravity stabilizers out, and we're going to make as many drone ships as we possibly can support, which is going to be a total of 4. So we're going to have 5 total drone ships, which we are going to spread across the south of the map, so we can start to harvest Tiberium on the left and right side by ping-ponging the enemy back and forth. But we set it directly in the middle because it kind of avoids a few triggers. However, our poor mastermind, as you can see coming up, he's going to get targeted down because they really hate the mastermind. Look at that poor guy, he's stranded. So we take our drone ships, we sell our structure, and we move them away. And you can see that attack wave coming in looking for our base structures. But because we had sold everything, they're not going to really do anything much in that spot except kill that mastermind. Goodbye. And then they'll move on to the right side because now the triggers are mixed. They will go from left to right looking for you if you have buildings. So as long as you just simply sell them off, they'll go away and attack the GDI base. This is actually how I manage the enemy on this map. So I pretty much make sure that they have to go back and forth by putting buildings down, and they'll draw them down to me, and then they'll attack the base just like you see here, which is really, really nice. And it's pretty much the only thing I can do during this mission. Avatars and Juggernauts and Mammoths absolutely wreck photon cannons. I literally can't use them. Like, they're awful. So instead, we moved one of our drone ships up to that north that you saw passing by on the screen just a little bit ago. And here's one of those attack waves I was just talking about. So while they're fighting back and forth, we are keeping on our extractor business. And also this lightning spike right here. They will be attracted to lightning spikes because they do consider lightning spikes a pretty high priority threat. They consider lightning spikes the same threat level as a commando. So that's just information for you if you want it. But once they destroy it, they will start pathing back up to the north. So we're back here in the bottom left. We're doing our little ping pong strategy again. We put down our refinery and we're using all the Tiberium we've harvested to just dump immediately. The whole time those guys are down there, we're harvesting even though we don't have any extractors. And here comes that attack wave. So we gotta get rid of this refinery and watch what happens here. That big attack wave's coming in. We sold that refinery off, lift our ship up, and they go away. They don't care about us anymore. We're invisible to them. And now this big attack wave that should have been coming to our base is going to be hitting this GDI base instead. So we're causing the enemy to weaken one another. My drone ship up there is waiting for its moment to strike. Whichever base is getting pushed into that's losing, I'm going to go attack the other person with a bunch of base defense drops. And as we can see here, I thought that attack wave would go a lot better than it did, but it didn't. But I take this time during that attack wave, I slam everything down, I start building my reactors, and I'm getting ready. I'm pumped. Let's go. And one buggy comes by, but he's easily distracted. We throw down more extractors, get our harvesting operations up, or you can see our money is around 10,000. That's kind of where we want it to be. Now I noticed the Nod base is kind of empty right now, so I do take this opportunity to go to the right to slam down my drone ship, and I'm going to try to knock out this war factory as fast as I can. We slammed down a whole bunch of photon cannons. That's working out pretty well. The Juggernauts are actually struggling to kill the photon cannons when they're so close. They are attacking me on two different fronts right now, but I don't care about that. My sole goal is to kill this war factory, which they will not rebuild. They'll rebuild the barracks all day, but this war factory, they will not rebuild it, and I don't know why, but I don't care. And there we go. We finally got that dirty dang war factory, and it falls. But down south, they did not struggle to kill us. They wiped out my entire bottom half, and they even killed a drone ship. But this drone ship on the left here, we simply lift it off the ground. The buggies lose interest, and then the guys are walking to the right. They want to destroy this entire base. And once again, I just do the same thing. I move my harvesters away, I lift the drone ship back up, and all of a sudden they lose interest in me. But now we have a problem. There's 3 Juggernauts sitting right here. The Nod base is currently empty, and there's also 3 more Juggernauts down here along with a Mammoth tank. Uh-oh. You can see the problem already building up, can't you? So now all those Juggernauts that were attacking my base and I no longer have a base, yeah, they're going to move into that Nod base. Every last one of them. So I get my drone ship ready and we go over to the left side because I need to anticipate it. So I made a save here, which was smart of me because I end up failing a few times. But we have the drone ship on the top left here, and I'm kind of waiting for these Juggernauts to push into the Nod base. I need them to do enough work for me so I don't have to deal with avatars. However, they did a little bit too well, and I just wasn't expecting this level of aggression out of them. And I wasn't able to do anything about it. That one Mammoth you see there soloed pretty much everything twice. So in the second clip, you see him once again being heroic, and he just decimates everything I throw at him. He's like one-shotting my photon cannons. But I try to take care of these Juggernauts by spamming down the photon cannons, because as you see, they try to walk away from a structure that they're too close to, or whatever they're firing at, and they'll kind of waddle back and forth and waste a few shots and then take time turning. So Juggernauts are really easy to take care of if you can get on top of them. But for the most part, you're not going to be able to get on top of them, and they're just going to fire at you from a long distance away. But once again, we follow the same problem. They have 3 more Juggernauts down south, and there's nothing I can do about it, and the Mammoth takes care of everything. Like, look how fast he killed that. Heroic Mammoths are freaking scary, dude. But hey, what can you do about it? So we have to be faster. So I think I need to be a little faster this time, but the AI actually does something to help me out quite a bit, which I was not expecting. It changed a little bit when I reloaded the save. So there is a little bit of RNG involved, even with the same save file. And I do go a little bit harder on the refineries because I need to make my income quite severe to bypass what could be a nod counterattack if I destroy GDI a bit too quickly. So I get the last of my extractors. I start building the portal immediately because I need to get these photon cannons out. And I think, you know, I need to get this lightning spike out too. Because the lightning spike, it's a super high threat level. It means they will immediately stop shooting. So we take our drone ship here and we start going south. And we're going to notice something magical happen this time. For whatever reason, those buggies that were attacking my base in the lower left, they came back up and they killed the juggernauts. I don't have to deal with an extra 3 juggernauts now. I'm so happy. That could not have gone better for me. So I plop down and I start whacking out my photon cannons again to kill all these stupid juggernauts that have been hassling me. And they just have a scorpion tank that is heroic, but he's not nearly as strong as a heroic mammoth tank, and I'm not scared at all. We whacked down a whole bunch of more photon cannons, and those juggernauts, they took care of the tech lab, so now Nod doesn't have any tech units. And I get a nice easy victory after all this time. The main crux of the issue was simply beam cannons, flame tanks, and avatars completely crush photon cannons. There was no amount of me using photon cannons that was able to take care of it. So I did take this time and I took my victory lap on the GDI base and I set up a whole ton of photon cannons over here because I want to make sure their base is good and dead because of how much trouble this mission gave me. Overall, this mission took me around 4 hours to beat. I did beat it once on stream, but I wasn't happy because I did use the mastermind to kill their tech labs and I wanted to do it without using my mastermind. So I went sure and I did it again, and this time I made sure it was done naturally by me killing the war factory and then GDI killing the tech lab on the Nod faction. And there we have the GDI base dead. It felt so good. And then it was just a simple capture and kill of these two objectives here, and it was easy peasy from that point out. But this mission took a lot of weird thinking in order to do. Simply put, I could not do this in a stand-up knockdown fight. Juggernauts and mammoth tanks way too strong against photon cannons, and the same thing with avatars, way too strong against photon cannons. I believe avatars like 2 or 3 shot photon cannons, and then beam cannons I can't even deal with because I can't get close enough due to the avatars in the first place. So all in all, this mission ended up being a huge headache, but hey, we were victorious, and that's all that matters. And there we go. We only lost 29 structures, and most of that was me spent time floating in the air doing nothing. Hey, sometimes you just have to do nothing to win, though, right? Threshold 19. Welcome to the most pain I've had in any video game challenge I've ever done. So we have a 10-minute timer in order to protect that tower we just saw on screen against a very insane GDI attack wave. They do come with 2 early attack waves which aren't too bad, but immediately afterwards they will start rolling out juggernauts and mammoth tanks and zone troopers with commandos. And the whole time they're also attacking you with firehawks and orcas. Now unfortunately I can't really do much. I do try to destroy the bridges on the top and side over here. We do manage to kill the top bridge, but this side bridge we do fail on killing, and you'll see kind of what it cascades into. So we get out as many drone ships as we possibly can early on. We do lose that harvester to that orca strike I was just talking about, where they attack you non-stop with orcas. And even though our defenses are capable of killing them, they're just not quick enough. And I don't really bother moving my units during this mission because I had to restart so many times, like I give up on moving them and I just left them where they sat by default. So we do try to start killing that bridge over there, but we're getting attacked on the left side now through that small GDI attack wave. It's not too bad, but there's nothing that really guards against it, and it expects you to use units on this map, but we just can't. So while we're trying to destroy that bridge, they come over the bridge with a bunch of tanks, and I do not get the kill on the bridge, and I start setting down my drone ships in the other locations to try to get more Tiberium. But that attack wave we talked about on the left-hand side, I wasn't capable of doing anything against it, and so we have them push through, and it's kind of just bad news bears on this side all around. There's not much I could do about it. And you can see they just start cutting through everything. I put a lightning spike down, but for some reason they're not interested in it. Even though most of the time lightning spikes will aggro the enemy, in this case they just completely ignore it. And then look at this nutty drop they have here. They put a whole bunch of dudes down. They summoned in the snipers, they summoned in the boys, and they're just coming to town. Now that attack back at my main base, it's still going on. I haven't stopped it yet. They killed all those photon cannons because I was too busy focusing on the left side. I get out more extractors here in an effort to get more money, to get more photon cannons down, And I'm like, man, are photon cannons really the way to do this mission? I don't think I can keep up with my photon cannon production to take out all these tanks. And then pretty soon they're going to be getting into railgun upgrades, and I'm really going to be hosed because I can't deal with railgun technology this early on. I mean, by this point, it's only been 2 minutes and like 50 or 45 seconds, and the attacks are already pushing this far into my base. I have to waste too much time early on getting out more drone ships because it starts you with a single drone ship that I can't really do much against it. Once again, the orc strike came back in and it took us out. So we put up a rift generator on the left side, and I'm kind of hoping I can wait out the timer and I can blow up part of their base with it and see if I can win on the back of that. But it's not going so well for me. And here they come. It's the mammoth tanks. And they have the railgun upgrades now. So I try to throw down a lightning spike to distract, and now they have snipers and they're bombarding me with juggernauts. I just can't win. I'm not having a very good day right now. And then we go back over to my right side base, and it's being cut through with mammoth tanks and juggernauts as well, and I pan away in an effort to not look at the problem, because if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. And we have the most MLG thing I've ever done. That command was about to take my drone ship, and I lifted off the ground just in time. The sound effect went off, and it didn't blow up. I didn't realize that was a thing. I thought once the sound effect happened, it killed your ship. But as we can see, there's just way too many mammoth tanks in there cutting through, and yeah. They start blowing up the tower. There's nothing I do about it. By the 6-minute mark almost, they've completely destroyed that top base, and I completely got cut through. Now, I didn't really put up too many defenses up there, so I'm like, okay, next time I have to do something about that. I have to get more defenses out, and I should be able to deal with that mission easy peasy at that point.
Select target.
So we're on to attempt 2. This time, I try to do the smart thing. I stasis their tanks to give myself time to build a storm column, because I figure if I have a storm column, I might be able to hold off long enough. But that attack wave that comes from the right side where the bridges are, because I didn't blow up the bridge this time, is now pushing in my base. So I dropped the storm column down here instead. I put the rift generator down at the bottom again to once again try to get that timer out as soon as I can. And then I put down another storm column up here to deal with these tanks. And once again, they're just pushing into my base brutally. It's only been 2 minutes 20 seconds. And once again, it takes a solid minute just to get my drone ships off the ground. So I'm already minus like 1 minute to 90 seconds every time I play this mission because I have to get my drone ships out. And it's not helping me out at all. So I put down more extractors here, and then I look back up north after I put that extractor down, and there's even more stuff just blowing my stuff up. I just can't win. So I get a few more drone ships out. I'm like, okay, what can I do in this situation? I'm running out of money. I don't really have time to slap down more and more of these storm columns. And I forgot how weak storm columns were. They're strong offensively, but they're made of paper. They cannot take a shot. Not like an obelisk. Obelisk can tank pretty well, but these storm columns are so weak. Now, what I could probably have done instead is had buzzers and maybe put them there, and then they would send out their little buzzer things, and they would distract. But then look at this attack wave right here. We have another mammoth tank, and they're just pushing into the base. I don't think they would have lasted long enough with the railguns and the zone troopers to really made much of a difference here. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, they dropped more zone troopers into the field on top of those mammoth tanks, and yeah, maybe that buzzers would have been a better idea. But I just don't have enough drone ships at the time to make the storm columns and the buzzers at the same time. Like, I have to make a decision, and it seems like I chose poorly. But then, once again, the buzzers aren't strong versus tanks, so there's not much I can do about it. In an effort, I try to drop my drone ship on the left side over here because I need more money, and we still have 4 phase generators, so I'm thinking, okay, it's not too bad. But the air units come in once again, and they start blowing stuff up. Nothing I can do about it. Now, look at the timer right now. It's about 5:50. We have still have 3 phase generators, and then we skip 1 minute ahead. Yeah, I've already lost all the phase generators. That top left lost that quickly. I couldn't win this day. I just couldn't win this day. So we're trying again with the 3rd attempt. We get our gravity stabilizers out once again, and we start producing in an effort to get our drone ships back out. Because my goal is to get as many drone ships out as possible so I can get more refineries out as possible so I can get more storm columns out. The storm columns I felt like were the way to do this mission, and well, quite frankly, I was wrong. They were not the way to do this mission. But we skip around over here, and I decided to try to take the middle area, and I use the buzzer power because I'm going to count it as a power because I'm frustrated at this point. And I'm like, okay, I can use this power, it'll use it as a distraction, and I'll be okay, and I'll take the middle from them, there's nothing I can do. So I take the time to get my harvester to go in that north field there. I get my storm column down early. I actually have buzzer hives alive this time. They should take care of those stupid little zone troopers, and I should be okay. So this time it's going fairly okay around, and I think, hey, that storm column actually lived. And then I go back to the middle here and they start coming with attack waves. I'm like, okay, I'll put some buzzers out. There'll be distractions while I build a storm column. And then I even phase them so I have more time to have my storm column kill them while they're phased. I mean, they can't really hurt the stuff in the phase. I don't know exactly how phase works. I just know it stops units for a meantime. So I figure it gives me enough time to make more stuff. But storm columns, they take 30 seconds to finish. Compare that to an obelisk, either 18 or 20, depending on what mission you're on, because they do change depending on the mission. And the storm columns are 3,000 and 30 seconds, which is they're just frankly too slow to do anything. And you see me trying to use a phase shift power here because I forgot it's for units and not for buildings. So I build even more drone ships down in the south, and I'm gonna try to run away with them because I figure, okay, maybe I can run away. We could rebuild more structures elsewhere, and then I'll be okay. Look how tapped our money is at this point. There's nothing I could really do at that point. I use a lightning spike to distract these tanks away from my drone ship as a temporary stopgap measure. And this middle portion, unfortunately, is just getting overrun. Those mammoth tanks are going to push through and destroy my storm column and that drone ship. There's not much I could do. That commando, yeah, he blew up my whole back of my base. So this is actually what caused this mission to be a failure here. That commando ended up taking out everything in my base. Now here was the other frustrating part of this attempt. There's 3 tanks down here, and I'm putting up photon cannons. And as you can see, the photon cannons are not targeting the low health tanks. I have to manually click on them to retarget them. I didn't realize this was happening at first because I thought they would like smart target something that was closest to them. But they do not. They will just fire randomly at any target in the given range that they consider a threat. So I kept having to put them out and trying to manually task them onto a tank. But the problem with that is, while it's building and you click on it and click on a tank, it will reset who it's targeting for whatever reason. It's really frustrating. We're building up a small base on the left side there and in the middle. We're trying to get some more extractors out if we can. And once again, the tank took out my photon cannons and they're landing some more troops here. So I think, okay, one more photon cannon, surely this will kill it. Look how much damage that one predator does against a photon cannon when it's heroic. It's ridiculous. And they start blowing up my drone ship over here, and nothing I can do about it. I sell it off for money. And then once again, we had another problem. They are pushing down the left-hand side towards that small base there. I'm hoping that this rip generator can last, but there's no way it lasts. It's just going to get killed slowly. And I have no structures to defend against it. So, yep, it does go south, and the tower loses, or the tower dies, and once again, we have been defeated. I try again. It's a running theme here. I get out my drone ships as early as I can. We did it by the 1 minute mark this time, which is a little faster than my other attempts. And once again, I put one through the wormhole. I move him down to that lower left. I put my rift generator down the back of my base. And then we look around to see what else we can do during the meantime. There's not much we can do. I forgot to destroy the bridge this go around. So I built the missile battery for the orca strike and I completely forgot about the bridge. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Fatigue is getting to me at this point. I mean, this is like hour 4 or 5 at this point. So I start putting down some more photon cannons to guard against that initial wave, and I decide just to stasis them and not worry about it for now, while we can get out more supporting structures like the buzzer hive in hopes they kill the little buzzers that pop out instead of the actual structures. So we slap down even more drone ships, which I forgot to set on the ground, so I wasted a minute doing absolutely nothing here because my drone ships weren't on the ground. So I plonk them all down and we start building up, but by this time it's way too late and the juggernauts have already arrived on the top side. So this does end up being a bit of a failure as well. But I do decide to play it out because maybe I'll learn something as I'm going through. So I slap down a storm column in an effort to kill these juggernauts up here. But once again, I do forget that storm columns can't be placed next to each other unless you power them down first. And we have some mammoths just chilling next to my Scrin tower. Okay. So we're going to ignore that and hope they don't move. So we start our lower left base here, building it up in an effort to drag out the fight. Because sometimes the AI will forget to attack the tower and attack you instead, like this big attack wave going on right now in my main base. So I take the time to slap down as many storm columns as I can near the tower in an effort to force the enemy to come attack me instead of the phase generators, in an effort to kind of just drain that clock a bit more. Like, my goal is to make that tower impenetrable and see what I can do after that. But unfortunately, this attack at my main base, it's way too heavy. Just look how many mammoth tanks and juggernauts they have. I have absolutely no hope in holding this off with $700. So they come through and they start wrecking absolutely everything. I start using my drone ships to body block my towers in an effort to get a little bit more damage out of them. But once again, they have zone troopers which are tanking all the shots from my storm columns, and there's not much I can do about it. I should have used the time to get out some more buzzers, but I just didn't have enough drone ships and storm columns to support it. Because with the amount of tanks and juggernauts they were coming at me with, I couldn't do anything about it. So with that mammoth tank is destroying that drone ship there, I do get a storm column out, but as soon as I drop it, the drone ship falls. And unfortunately, I do kill it afterwards. We hit some bad luck. My power goes down. So I try to build out some reactors as fast as I can. I could have tried to power down our tech assembler, but that wouldn't be enough power. I think we're still down by like 2 power plants at that point. Yeah, you can even see it right there. And it comes back online, and we end up killing the mammoth tank. And the commander comes in, and I'm scared of this dang little thing, but the storm column does manage to take care of it before he can jump. And then again, we have the same problem. Look at all the GDI presence up here. Now, that presence wasn't done by me. There was that pack up there. That pack killed all that stuff. It wasn't me. So the pack the game gives you by default killed it, everything. And then once again, this lower left base here falls, and there's nothing we can do about it. So I'm trying to repair and hold on as much as I can. I get out a drone ship. I try to fly it away because we're so close. We have 50 seconds left. I can hold on for 50 more seconds. The game will give me like $35,000 to finish the mission with. And I'm thinking, okay, I can hold on just long enough to hold off, and I should be okay, and I don't have to worry about it. And we learned something over here. The GDI won't move when they attack that lower right base. When they go down there, they will kill your base off, and then they'll stay there because they're because I think they have like 2 or 3 base AI that attack different locations. So some of them will attack locations and then just stay there once stuff is dead. So you might be able to abuse the mission that way. But unfortunately, the juggernauts do start attacking the tower with only 17 seconds left on the clock. They shoot off the final salvo, and we lose at the 11-second mark. Very tragic. But I'm not done yet. I have one more idea in my head. We're going to go to the old classic. If I simply get out enough drone ships, maybe I can fly my happy butt into their base. That's the remains of them. It didn't go so well. They came out with a bunch of mammoth tanks at only the 2-minute mark. I was like, oh my goodness, I've never had the mammoth tanks come this early before. So I try again. I got a whole bunch of drone ships pretty early on. This is only the 90-second mark. I already have 5 drone ships. So I take my drone ships and I go to fly them across this bridge here, and I'm going to go slam them in their base, and then I'm just going to start slamming towers down. There's nothing they can do about it until they do something about it. So because that bridge wasn't destroyed, they sent an attack wave over it, and I lose my drone ships. Whoops. That's fine. We can try again, right? So this time I make sure we try to kill the bridge. I set down a photon cannon, which unfortunately gets firehawked out of existence. I set up a storm column to finish the job. So the ion cloud takes care of the tanks, while the storm column itself takes care of the bridge. That's why I love storm columns. So we did destroy the bridge up north, and now we're going to summon the boys into action. We start taking our drone ships and we move them across this little rickety thing, and for some reason they dip down and they fly back up. Drone ships have like ground movement, but in the air it's so strange. I don't understand how drone ships work. Their physics and their pathfinding is atrocious. Like, look at this one, he's struggling, dude. So we actually managed to get into their base. I whack it down, and unfortunately is right ahead of a sonic emitter, but we have a second one. We whack down the storm columns, and oops, we're in the range of the other sonic emitter. Nothing I can do about it. I didn't realize where the stuff was. And we don't really get too far. We get the tech lab down to only 75%, and then our attack peters out and we fail. But we get a nice look at the base, see just how much stuff they have in a given area. That's why I was trying to do Rip Generator so much, was to kill all their base in one go. So we pull the boys once again in an effort to get across this bridge and try it again. But this time I'm going to go a little bit further back, because now we know where the stuff in their base is, and I can hopefully bypass it. So we get all the way through, not too bad. I do use the stasis to get rid of several of the mammoth tanks, so I take less damage on the way up. And then while that's happening, my base is getting pushed into. I ignore it and I keep pushing into their base because I figure my base can tank long enough to do some damage. But unfortunately, look at this pathing. This is atrocious. Why do these flying units not just go over the base structures? I guess they're really low flying, but we do manage to get one of them past. And we do slam it down here, and then we start spitting out some more storm columns. I put them a little bit further back this time in an effort to hopefully kill these tech labs. And once again, I put one too close to the sonic emitter. I keep going too close to that dang sonic emitter. So we try killing this tech lab once again, but just look how fast these are going down. Look how many mammoth tanks they have still in their base. Like, this one wasn't even being hit by that sonic emitter. It just dropped. We get the tech lab down to only around 50%, and then by this time, I'm pretty much out of money. Most of my drone ships are no longer producing because they're dead. If you look in the mini-map, my base is gone. And so we take a little look at their base here, and yeah, they have a lot of stuff. But then I noticed something. Uh-oh. They have 2 tech labs. Even if my plan worked and I threw all that money away killing their tech lab, they have a second tech lab. I was doomed from the start. There was no way for me to kill off their tech lab to cut their tech off at the source because they have 2 of them. And that's the mission. It's not possible for me to do it. The closest I came to beating this mission was I did get a mothership out, which they pretty much immediately firehawked out of existence. Yeah, juggernauts. What are you gonna do? Well, unfortunately, I could not complete this challenge as is. The hard campaign was simply too fast and too brutal in order for me to beat it with the rules I had set. Having to spend the entire first minute to about 90 seconds in order to get all my stuff out onto the field was simply too much of a detriment for me in order to push into their base and take it over. I mean, this right here is just on easy while I look around the map to see what they have. And I'm pretty certain on easy you can do it with just the pack carrier and you'll win the mission. I don't know what could be done about the challenge. There was one thing I was thinking about in regards to the challenge, and that was in this lower right corner here. I was thinking that if you put a rift generator and a power plant in this corner and sell off all of this stuff right here, you should be okay and you should be able to complete the mission without much issue. At least that was my plan initially, and it did work out. I did give it one shot, but unfortunately they will come to the corner eventually and punish you for it, but it does take them like 8 minutes to figure it out. So that was one of the ways I was able to get to kind of the end and deal with it in a more simplistic manner. But for the most part, having that 90-second loss at the start is simply too much and you just can't do it. It's unfortunate that that's the way it is, but hey, what are you gonna do about it, right? This is probably one of the most fun missions though in the whole game. I think being attacked super hard and super fast at the start here is just such a fun thing that I wish more missions were like this one. Like Port of Alexandria, for example, as the GDI one, is also a ton of fun as well. And I just love that mission. Yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't do it, but hey, we're going to give the GDI a attempt, and I'm going to do the exact same thing for the GDI because I want to figure out if it's possible to do some of the certain GDI missions, which are going to be incredibly brutal. Like the last mission on the GDI is entirely air units pretty much, and that's going to be rough because I hate fighting Scrin air. Oh, let me know. Did you like what you saw? If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. It would help me out. Thank you. I also did discover something as well. The AI cheats on this map, like really hard. They don't need a command center or a crane in order to rebuild. I've destroyed pretty much everything they own. I haven't gone down here, but there's no crane or anything over here. And they're rebuilding structures out of nothing. They literally have infinite build cheats right now. Because I've looked all over and they have absolutely nothing. In fact, I've killed their power plants off and they still have power as well. You literally can't defeat this base in order to clear the mission. Like they just they cheat so hard.